Peace, family. It's your brother Binaj Allah, and as always, we with Black Family Educational Series, right? That's what we about. Showing and proving through the unification of the seeds, right, of the Black family, that we gonna be where we need to be, and we gonna get where we want to get. So, I'm starting or introducing a book to you, The Polygamist Papers, right, by Brother Hondo Solomon. It's an introduction to polygamous culture and its ethics, and its principles, pitfalls, and ethics. I've had this book like 5-6 years, you know what I'm saying? Maybe more. I probably had it as soon as it came out. I've read it several times. I study it, so it's a good book. I'm going to get the back out the way for you, so you have from his words what it is. It says, The Polygamist Papers is the first in a series on the marriage economy. The papers were drafted to A, ensure readers an accurate understanding on polygamous cultures, purpose, and intent. B, reveal the communitarian ethic maintained within polygynous families. And C, highlight the international and multicultural scope of polygamy. This concise introduction is lightly footnoted with the bibliography and reflections from the author's experience and ethnographic research spanning nearly 4 decades. We are honored by your support of the work and encourage you to keep the book as a ready reference and a means of sharing the message found herein. You know what I'm saying? So, basically, this brother is a polygamous researcher. That's what he does. You can look him up on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Look up his book. It's a series of Q&A that, from the most intimate of questions, right, to the most far out thought, to the most to rumors and misconceptions and everything, in a question and answer format, where I'll show you an example. So what I'm going to do with this series is I'm only going to do 3 parts because I don't want to spoil the book. I could go forever, but I really don't want to spoil the book. I usually only read y'all a few chapters or a few sections out of a book, so you get the point. And if you want that food, you go get it. So, The Polygamist Papers. Here's part 1. In the section I'm going to read, you see they're built like this. That's the Q&A right there. And this plus the next page is another Q&A. So I'm going to go in on one of those questions you may have never thought about. What's the best age for a man to marry additional women? Now he goes on and says, a man's maturity is more of a factor than his age, though the former follows the latter as a matter of course. So, like you said, even though the age, of course, you be 25, and then you'll be 30, then you'll be 35, and so on. However, his maturity is more than a factor. He says, if he attracts women of class and high quality, and they enjoy his charisma, fortitude, and ability to care for them along spiritual, psycho-emotional, and physical lines, there should be little concern from the community at large. So as long as you're doing what you gotta do, it don't matter his age. That's the extra factors of maturity. It says, these are observed by his first consort and any others who seek his affection. Now, we talk about consort, you know what I'm saying? This is a woman you're dealing with. I'm not going deep, get the book. He goes into explanation as far as having a general working definition for everything. However, he's talking about first woman he dealing with, you know what I'm saying? The maturity mentioned here is predicted on the man's upbringing, the trials of life he has successfully passed, which lead to his bearing and spiritual stature. If this man has not gone through the crucible, then character deficiencies will magnify already existing problems within the family. So if he hasn't gone through rites of passage, if he hasn't been through certain elders and certain traditions, right, understanding how to structure family, then what's going to happen? It says that then character deficiencies will magnify already existing problems within the family. So every time you adding on something to you, especially you adding on women, you're going to magnify whatever's going on in your life that includes these deficiencies. This includes the problems within the family. You understand? So there's certain things a man needs to go through that's a factor to his maturity besides age and what he can do for them. He continued to say, some argue that a man younger than 30 years of age has no business having 2 wives. Others say that a man should have a successful marriage with one woman for 10 years before he takes on another, as to prove his mettle in marriage. While both have merit, the problem is that they assume socioeconomic conditions remain constant, and there are polygynous women interested in men 30 years and younger, men who have only been married for a few days, weeks, months, or years. Now, he's talking about, he gave the example of how most men say, 30 is a decent maturity for a man to have two wives. And the other example, okay, a man needs to have success and time and length in a monogamous marriage in order to have that fortitude and show and prove that he could hold down a second wife, you know what I'm saying, and bring and add more to his family through history, because it best repeats itself. So though those have merit, like he said, and though those both make sense, because okay, at age maturity level, okay, also a maturity shown in relationships, and how a man could have longevity and success with one woman and the children that she bears for him. You understand? So yes, that holds merit, and that is key into considering as far as structure and relationship. However, as time change, you must change. We say that in the 5%, that's known as our teaching. We know if you don't change, Allah taught what? You don't change, you'll die. So he goes on to say that what? Though these, this is true, what we just explained, the problem is that they assume socioeconomic conditions remain constant. Like he said, there's women that want men that are younger that are out there, and there's women that don't care how long you've been in a relationship, or your maturity and ability to handle that woman or those women in particular may have nothing to do with how long you've been in a relationship. So it comes down to that factor as well. He says the man must have an already established ethos for his family before he marries his first woman. If he's already married and has no specific guidelines for polygyny, then one should be created before adding additional women and children. Polygynous men sometimes become arrogant and believe their woman's opinion means little and her words are ignored, but consorts are there for emotional support. So, if you don't have a culture, right? If you don't have a square established that you're standing on, right? If you're not coming with, this is what I'm doing in my life, it'll be done in these stages. This stage has happened. This stage is going on now. And your role in my life, right? You adding on to this family, you being a key role in this family sustaining itself, right? Is dependent upon you playing this position, right? Us working together in this way, us communicating in this way. So like you said, you need an already established ethos for his family before he marries his first woman. You have to have an idea of where you'll be in the world in this many years, months, and days. You have to have if you're the sporadic type, right? You have to have that already established so that the women that you choose in your life, right, are on that vibe or on that type of wave where they'll be able to, whether you want a lot of children or whether you want a few children or whether you want a woman that could travel with children, whether you want a woman that's going to wait to have children, we need that already established. And if you want a polygynous family, like he said, and you're in a monogamous relationship, you need to be dealing with stuff like this. You need to be tuning into these videos. You need to be dealing with patience and not be in a rush to get another woman because you can, right? Hold your, in your pants and understand that establishing guidelines, like he said, if you have no specific guidelines and you're already married to one woman, then this needs to be created before getting to another one. Establish that with the current wife and then move on. You understand? So that things move smooth like butter. Because a lot of times, if they're in a situation where they clicked up, same house or not, the success of the second wife has a lot to do with what's going on with the first. So she either going to put her on to a lot, right? Or show by example, regardless. So, like he said, polygynous men sometimes become arrogant, right, and believe their woman's opinion means little and her words are ignored, but consorts are there for emotional support. So, there's a saying, women are emotional beings. There's layers to that because we all have emotion to us. However, in essence, right, her emanation, right, of life force right here as the earth, right, is dealing with emotion. So they're there for emotional support because even as the earth, right, they could pull a lot of the bullshit out of you. Subconsciously, a lot of times, just her presence because that's her vibe. You understand? So they're there for emotional support, meaning set things up, establish things like we said, and then she's there for the emotional support of that. Polygyny is not so much about multiple women sharing a man, but is about forcing a family in an economic structure that includes marketplace, military, agriculture, religious, and sexual stratagems. This must be foremost in the mind of the polygamist, or it will come across like pimping or a way for a man to simply have more sex. Woman familiar with polygyny can tell when a man lacks understanding of the system or has impure motives. Now, I want to talk about that, but that last sentence in particular, because like I said, this is a 5% digest, so I got to give it to you how we give it. Women familiar with polygyny can tell when a man lacks understanding of the system or has impure motives. Now, we know he's speaking on women who are have inherited that culture, right? Women who are in polygynous cultures, born into it. Grandmother has 7 wives. I've talked to, or like Murph, know women in like this one woman in Nigeria, right? Her grandfather had like 7 wives. Her dad had this many, and so on. So women familiar in that sense, they know what's up. You know what I'm saying? They know, oh, he ain't dealing with it how Pops dealt with it, and Pops put this in place. You know what I'm saying? And he held shit down, and everything ran smooth, and we here, and we was raised just fine, and we actually had a little more help than those that didn't have what we had. However, the 5% digest, right? A woman is born. Now, I ain't gonna give it all to you, but I'll say a woman is born with knowledge of who the original man is. It's embedded in her, right? Just like she's born with her eggs, she's born with particular knowledge, right, of who the original man is. It's already programmed in her. So that's the familiar with polygyny. She already know who you are. But when she know you lack understanding, she gonna make you a concubine. She gonna run all over you. Now, to go back, polygyny is not so much about women sharing a man, but it's about forging a family, right? He said that includes marketplace, right? So we know in today's day and time, social media, you have 3 wives. Women become popular easy on social media, not just through showing their ass, but through creativity, right? Women are more marketable when it comes to products because there's more women online even. It's not about dudes looking at them. You understand? They are a more comfortable, pleasing face to look at, a more attractive face to look at when it comes to a pleasurable product. You understand? It fits. A woman is softer. You understand? So when it comes to you enjoying something or having something for your benefit, a lot of times a woman presenting it is better. So when it comes to marketplace, we know even in traditional societies, you see women at the marketplace out there selling the fruit. You know what I'm saying? Out there selling whatever the agriculture, right, of their village or their particular house is going on. Out there dealing with whatever business demand it is, whether it's crafts, you know what I'm saying, furniture, whatever the case may be. So marketplace, military. Your women should also know. I'll give like a peek into how I run things with my home when it comes to military. Right, my children know certain codes. They know certain signs and symbols that mean certain things, right? And the women knowing this as well, being that the children in a lot of situations, they're more clingy to their mothers, right? So it's a military strategy for the woman to be in tune through signs and certain just certain strategy and regiment, you know, with the children as far as defending yourselves because they're more clinging to her anyway. So in a situation where there's public civil unrest in an active shooter situation, like I'm going to talk about in different videos, you understand, in a home invasion situation where the mother may be right at the breast, where the mother may be having the toddlers around her. There's certain dependency, right, from the children to her militarily when it comes to the direct home. So that needs to be established. And with multiple women, it is just way better. With multiple women, there it expands, right, the parameters of the safety of the children right in the home. That's just one example militarily. Now, when we get to numbers reduce crime in home invasions, kidnappings, and things like that. More people in the home, more eyes on the property. You understand? More eyes not just on the children and the property, but more eyes and ears to on social media and in the news and things that's going on in current events. That's all military. You understand? What you have is extension to more families, right? So now, not just her family and all her brothers and all her cousins, right, got your back, but so do hers, and so do hers, and so do hers. You understand? This is the jewels, the real blessings in polygamy, militarily. Agriculture. That's simple. Especially for women that love gardening. I think black people, period, are natural at it. But particularly women that love gardening and like to put together landscape and flower designs type of thing. You can make kill two birds with one stone, as they say, with agriculture. When it comes to multiple women being able to maintain a garden, they're not just maintaining the nourishment for the children, right? Because it's their responsibility for their cycles and for breastfeeding, right? And for certain, they pick up or they see more readily because I'm at work, right? What the children may snotty nose, whatever, what to plant if you have a garden, you understand? Or agriculturally, even what seasonings and spices to use, you understand? So when you have multiple women, again, that adds to that cipher. The knowledge of those multiple women in the home add to that. There's expertise and there's intuition, right, in different areas. Like I said about the garden, when there's more hands on deck, not that one woman can't do this, but we're talking about the potential power, right, over monogamous families, because you have the manpower at the end of the day. You could kill two birds with one stone, because the garden isn't just pleasing nutritionally, but visually, because the scenery of it, you know what I'm saying, you can do more, have time and space to do more, and the scenery of things adds on to our psychology and the health of the family in general. You understand? The psychology of seeing an expansive garden, you know what I'm saying, cultivated by multiple women, embeds polygyny in a way that you magnify yourself with that power, so things begin to run smoother because you're creating a vehicle that's more natural. So that's marketplace, military, agricultural, religious. So we know he's speaking in the sense of being that polygyny in the, besides the straight traditional broad sense of it, is biblical and Quranic. You understand? So he's talking religious from that aspect. We know from a 5% digest, we're here to kill all religion. You understand? We're not talking about ethics and principles. You understand? We talking about that Christianity bullshit. You understand? He ain't talking about that. However, he's dealing with scholarly work and research, so he's using that word because he's talking about religious in the true Hebraic sense. You know what I'm saying? So, or Hebrew sense. So we talking about not a dependency on a mystery God and religion, but a culture, a way of life that's centered around the man being the provider and the natural sustainer and life giver, right? The progenitor of the success of the family. You understand? So when it comes to him being the center of that, or the cultural standards and identity of the family, he's responsible for making sure, like in a 5% sense, your children know how to run a parliament. They know that at the parliament at the end of the month, like we've had since 67 consecutively, that there's nation business at a certain time. They know that you have to feed the people. They know that you have to secure the area a certain way. You know what I'm saying? They know that They not only know that you have to secure the area a certain way, they know who and what security and formation looks like. You understand? So there's different things that culturally, for us in particular, that fall in line. That when it comes to family structure and polygyny, these things are passed directly on to the women, and holding this civilization, they can ensure that the children know these things. Because, like I said, it's cultural. So when it comes to nation business, I'm sitting down in the parliament listening to what's going on up front. You understand? I may be in and out, going outside or around the corner to the school for whatever business. You understand? And the children, it's time for them to eat. It's time for them to do a children activity. Whatever. Women is most likely going around with them doing that. So when it comes to cultural tenets, right? Again, to me, it's you may say, oh, one woman could do that. It's the potential power. As a man, your potential power to rule and to take back what's yours on this planet, particularly black men, right? Patiently, right? With the proper observation and strength and fortitude, should deal with polygyny because it's natural. I'll get into how it's natural in a bonus video because that's just common sense to me. However, let's continue. And sexual stratagems. So, like you said, it's not so much just about, to remind you, it's not so much just about multiple women sharing a man, but it's about forging a family in an economic structure that includes marketplace, military, agricultural, religious, like I said, cultural, and sexual stratagems. So when it comes to sexual, right, that form of exchange, that form of commerce, right, it's not only pleasure, right, which relieve stress, you know. It's not only grounds for sex, like he said, sexual stratagem. So sex fits your lifestyle. Like the example I gave of the dude that wants to travel a lot. You understand? Sex fits his lifestyle. He might frequent Italy every 2 months, right, and have a concubine there, or have another wife there. That's the sexual stratagem for him being between Italy and New Jersey. One here, one there. You understand? To bring it down a little to at home and not at home and abroad, right? I'll bring it right to the most tangible, what people know: 2 women, 3 women living in the same house. You understand? When it comes to a man being truly healthy, a truly healthy man is dealing with potency, right, sexually. A truly healthy man is is strong sexually. You understand? So he has the strength to please multiple women, and we know this because on the flip side to proper ethical polygynous culture, men cheating, which it ultimately promotes whoredom in women, we know that men got a lot of sex to give around. Most of our fathers got multiple baby mothers, right? We know that men got plenty of sex to give around, so that's the bullshit on can he please multiple women. You understand? So that's there, and that's natural for him. He doesn't have to go against his biological nature, right? He doesn't have to go against his natural inclination, right? Or a natural inclination towards attraction to multiple women. He doesn't have to go against that. So it puts him in his natural state. See, we're not religious. So religious means a dependency on God, a dependency on a certain dogmatic principles that keep you in a box. He's not in that. He can be him, right? And he can rule. And like I said, that doesn't mean being a whore. Now, another sexual stratagem before we get out of here, because that'll pretty much end what's the best age for a man to marry additional women. As women get older, to fit it to the question, they can't reproduce anymore. And we know a man can. Traditional example, Dr. Sebi, he just died there. It was like 83. And he had a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. You understand? Obviously by multiple women. And that's a key example of sexual stratagem to keep your empire going. Because the way he returned, right, the way he so-called, this body died that he was in, and his mind and his principles continued through his babies and through his children and the people he taught. The way that happened with his children, is he had so much of it to spread out so it won't die. So even though there may be certain conflicts that's coming out about his personal life, there's office here, office here, office here, all promoting Dr. Sebi. You understand? So he successfully through sexual stratagem, you understand, created many mansions, right, in his home, however that Bible verse goes. So polygyny is not so much about multiple women sharing a man, but is about forging a family and an economic structure that includes marketplace, military, agricultural, religious, and sexual stratagems. This must be foremost in the mind of the polygamist, or will come across like pimping or a way for a man to simply have more sex. So like I said, brothers, I'm not about the blackmail concubinage. I'm deaf to that. I'm with men preserving a rod and holding it up, another 5% tenant. We taught a whole month of the year, you know what I'm saying, traditionally, to raise your rod, to get away from the cultivation of what women and holding that over you. You know what I'm saying? It come across like pimping if all you want to do is just have more than one woman. Even though it's your nature, see, I'll end on this. We the 5%, right? 85% of people are uncivilized. Poison animal eaters, right? These are people who worship what they know not what. Talking about this mystery God. See, the 5%, right, don't believe in the teachings of the 10% that rule that 85%, who teach them that there's a mystery God, who teach them to rely on a mystery and dogmatic principles to run their lives. See, the 5% teach the black man God. You understand? That the black man is the supreme of all beings. So, the difference between an 85%er, right, an uncivilized man, and a 5%er, a civilized man, someone who has knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, and refinement, and is not a savage in his pursuit of happiness, right, with as many women as he want, like Universal Sham God Allah, the designer of our flag, right? He said whether Allah told him whether he was talking about whether it's 1 or 100. You understand? It don't come across pimping if you have ethics, morals, guidelines, education to pass to your children. You understand? Because it comes off as civilization. It is for advancement and not abuse. Peace.